I am Darren Smith, and he is John Gennaro. It's going to be a tricky week. We're going to be a moving target. We're not going to be as structured and as scheduled as we normally are, but thank you for making us part of your Monday. It is the weekend recap. That means this episode is available, unlocked. Everybody has access to it. You don't need to be a subscriber to listen to Section 1904 today or any other Monday for that matter, but we would appreciate it if this is your only exposure to the Section 1904 podcast. Consider supporting local independent media with yours truly and John. You could do so for as little as $5 a month. How do you do that? You go to section1904.com. You'll see all the hard work that's going into the website. You can find all sorts of written content there, game recaps, previews, etc. The full catalog of podcasts, section1904.com. We would appreciate your support. And I did say it's going to be a little bit of a moving target this week. There's a playoff game tonight in San Diego, which we're going to focus on. I am traveling on Tuesday morning. I am flying to Tennessee at 6:45, Thanksgiving on Thursday. Usually Thanksgiving followed by a holiday Friday. We haven't fully committed to that schedule depending on what it is that's going to happen in our local sports. So we're going to play a lot of this by ear. Just pay attention. We'll email you the front row seat. We'll email you the podcast so that way you don't have to go hunting around and looking for them. John, hope you had a good weekend. Most importantly, I think we start where we should put our focus, which is your ribs. How did the ribs come out yesterday? The pictures that you posted on the Discord channel, they were mouth-watering. I will say they were very mouth-watering in picture form on Discord. Did they actually match the appearance that you posted on social media yesterday?
They did. Rest in peace to that rack of ribs. It is gone. It is done and dusted. The whoever recommended to me, and I think it was our buddy who sometimes helps us behind the scenes, John Crean. He recommended that when I'm dealing with spare ribs instead of baby back ribs, to instead of doing 3-2-1, do 3-3-1. And it turned out perfect after 3 hours of being wrapped in the foil and all that stuff. I checked the temperature; it was 202. I was like, "You are perfect." Took it off. I made my father-in-law's barbecue sauce. Not a step that I always take when I'm doing ribs. Sometimes I just grab a bottle out of the fridge or from the store or whatever. But my father-in-law has a barbecue sauce that he makes, and sometimes I like to go the extra effort in making that, and I did. That turned out wonderful. My wife, about halfway through her allotment of ribs, looked at me and she was like, "So how do you think you did?" And I was like, "I think these might be the best ribs I've ever made." She looked at me, she was like, "They're really good. I don't know if they're the best you've ever made, but they might be. They're really good." So I nailed it. Nailed it. There was very little anxiety because I started them at like 8:30 in the morning. Only needed them to be done by like 6. I think they were done by like 5:30. They definitely I took my time with them, but they turned out wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Couple quick follow-ups here. Your wife, if I'm not mistaken, is from Texas. She's a Texas girl.
Yep.
Which means that your father-in-law, presumably also from Texas?
Master of the grill and the
Okay,
smoker.
so
Like you
these are
believe.
high standards. This is a
Yeah.
high bar to clear. If
Mhm.
you're making your own barbecue sauce, if you're trying to please this Texas girl with your ribs, this is not some ordinary person off the street maybe who didn't grow up in this culinary culture.
Correct. I'll say, like, when my father-in-law, he used to live here. Now he's back in Texas, but I used to get real nervous about making my ribs for him, smoking pulled pork for him, making a steak for him. And I've gotten to the point on almost all the meat that I grill or smoke that he's complimented me on all of it. Like, "Wow, you do a good job with this." Like, almost like a pat on the back. Okay, now I can move away. My daughter has someone who can handle this. A year or two ago, he was at my house and I got a Cardiff crack from Cardiff Seaside Market, the tri-tip, the marinated tri-tip. And there was a debate between me and my father-in-law about when to take it off the grill, what temperature to pull it. And he was like, I was like, "I want to pull it at like 125, 130, let it rest for it." He's like, "No, no, no, it's got to go up to like 150. You got to pull it at
What?
one." And I was like, "You know what you're doing." And so I pulled it at 150 and he took like 2 bites of it and he came over to me and he was like, "I messed this up, man. I'm sorry."
150? It's not a
Yeah, I know.
brisket. See,
I
this is what
know.
happens. Tri-tip it's not indigenous to Texas. So it's not
Right, it's a
something that they
California
fully
meat.
understand. Yes.
Correct.
Tri-tip is uniquely again, I'm talking out of my ass here, so somebody might correct me, but I don't know tri-tip to be one of the things that we associate with Texas barbecue.
No, it's a
But
Central California thing.
Central California, yeah, Santa
Yeah.
Maria. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I could understand a little bit of the confusion there, but yes, you honestly, it's a tough thing, man. It's tough to tell your father-in-law, I don't think you know what you're doing here. It's a very tough thing, but I think
And
you know
yeah.
now for future reference, you do have that experience that you can say, hey, listen,
Oh, he
let
told
me.
me.
You
He
want to cook
told
a
me.
brisket, you want to cook some ribs, you want to do all that sort of stuff. That's your deal. But when it comes to tri-tip, take it from the person who lives in the state of California. Well, good. I'm glad. Just real quick, barbecue sauce, hard to make. I never even occurred to me to try to make my own barbecue sauce.
It never occurred to me either until he was like, "You got to make my barbecue sauce." It's not that hard. You just got to get a recipe. You throw it in a pot. You let it simmer for half an hour. His was kind of like equal parts. It was a cup of strong black coffee, a cup of ketchup, and I think half a cup
Ketchup.
of yeah, and then like half a cup of butter, and then there was some sugar and a couple other things I'm forgetting. It's like 5 or 6 or 7 ingredients. You throw it in the pot. You let it simmer for half an hour until it's kind of the right thickness. And yeah, delightful. Making your own barbecue sauce, really fun.
Good for you. Very proud of you. Sounds like you had an excellent Sunday, a very satisfying Sunday as well. All right. As mentioned, this week's going to be just a little all over the place with some of the travel. Wish me luck. 6:45 flight tomorrow. I can now say on this podcast, because I know my mother-in-law tunes in from time to time, that my wife went through great lengths to throw her a surprise party this past weekend, a surprise party for her birthday that, of course, I was unable to attend because I am sitting here in an absolute avalanche of game notes for SDFC and Minnesota United tonight, 7 o'clock on Jammin' 95.7 in the iHeartRadio app, and, of course, MLS Season Pass. I did put a tutorial on the Discord channel, how you can find the local radio broadcast. Hopefully people check that out. I could probably do that again a little later on social media. So happy birthday to Joyce, who will turn 70 officially coming up on Thursday on Thanksgiving. But I am on a flight at 6:45 tomorrow through Denver. Wish me luck. Hopefully there's no weather. Hopefully we don't have any major issues. It's the first flight out, so I like my chances of getting into Knoxville. We'll be there just for a couple of days, and then back home. We're scheduled to come back home on Friday because if SDFC wins tonight, SDFC, at least I think the plan, although not official for Major League Soccer, is the conference final will be Saturday at 6 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium. Now, maybe that changes if it's going to be in Vancouver. We can spend some time talking about it. If it is, I don't know that it's going to alter our plans all that much. It's a busy week. Playoff game tonight. SDSU will play its final regular season game at New Mexico on Friday. On Friday, there's all sorts of scenarios out there about hosting the Mountain West Conference Championship game. New Mexico is still in that conversation, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And of course, you just have everything happening with holidays and people running around, and it's going to be 2026 before you know it. It's a late Thanksgiving this year, 25, 26, 27, 27. I mean, that's late. That is a late Thanksgiving, so we're going to just fly right through Christmas. Reminds me I was supposed to have done some decorating around this house while my wife was away, but didn't get to it. Coming up on this show, Corey Baird, who is from San Diego, born in Poway, grew up in Escondido, who has been a starter at the center forward position for the 3 playoff games that SDFC has played, who has assists in back-to-back games. Corey Baird, this is going to be the longer interview from the SDFC midweek show on San Diego Sports 760 that you could have found on demand on the iHeartRadio app. I had to cut that down to about 8 minutes. I think we have about 11 minutes with Corey here, so we joked around a little bit about karaoke. He talked a little bit about the Chargers leaving and playing a Monday night game in San Diego and what winning a championship in his hometown would mean, the impact of winning a trophy. So Corey Baird here on Section 1904 today. SDSU plays tonight. The reason that we're on Jammin' 95.7, San Diego State plays a basketball game tonight in this Vegas Invitational against number 7 Michigan. We know what happened last time out, so we'll spend a couple minutes talking about that. Again, Section 1904, you might be traveling. We will do our best to put together some content. John and I have a plan of recording tomorrow's show at the end of the game tonight. So, just since I won't be sleeping anyway, I figured why not spend all night at Snapdragon Stadium, and we'll do a post-game show for the radio, and then John and I will do the majority of tomorrow's Section 1904 from Snapdragon Stadium. Yours truly will be at Snapdragon Stadium, so we'll see how that works out. It's the final game. We have 3 of the 4 semifinalists in or conference finalists, I guess, and semifinalists overall in Major League Soccer. Miami is going to host New York City Football Club. Vancouver took down LAFC on Saturday night. John and I were watching that on my phone while we were at Sean Kelly's Formula One party in Coronado on Saturday night. That was a lot of fun. We'll spend a second on that. And now we're waiting for the winner tonight. SDFC and Minnesota United. Take 3 for the 3rd time. Minnesota United got through Seattle Sounders in 3 games. Didn't win any of them. Won a couple of penalty kicks. Won a couple PK shootouts. Didn't win any of the games officially. If you were betting on that in Vegas, and you would have had to bet draws both times that Minnesota United advanced. Dane St. Clair got credited with a clean sheet in that first game. SDFC gets through Portland 2 games technically to 1 tie, 1 penalty kick shootout loss. It's exciting. I mean, it is. It's exciting. It's completely different styles. Some could overhamp this and talk about it. It's a fight for the soul of soccer, John. One team wants to play football and be free-flowing and up and down and passing and play the beautiful game, and the other one really just wants to drag you into the dirt and just muck it up and maybe clip a goal here or 2 on a couple of set pieces. So a lot on the line. We've never had a match like this, and it's going to be a capacity crowd, a crowd that's going to matter, a crowd that could be impactful in the game, in my opinion. We could explain that, but pretty much all I've been thinking about all weekend is getting set for this game tonight at 7:00.
Okay, I have a question for you about the dates and everything. But before I get into that, let's talk about how I categorize this level of excitement, because this does feel the same as a San Diego Padres playoff game day, or the same as when the San Diego Chargers had a playoff game, in that I woke up this morning, my eyes flicked open at like 6:35, and the first thought I had was, there's a game tonight. And like, I don't always think that way. I almost always think that way when there's an important playoff game. And now the rest of the day is going to be approximately 12 years long as I wait for this game to arrive. Every minute, every hour, I'm going to look at the clock and be like, really? It's only been an hour? It feels like it's been 6. I'm very, very excited for this game. Dates and such, because you laid it out, and either I'm an idiot or it just got circuitous at a moment there. So SDSU football plays on Friday. They play
Correct.
Friday afternoon at New Mexico. If we do anything on Friday, maybe we just do some sort of post-game thing where we talk about that, because that will be the end of the Aztecs regular season, and then they have the conference championship game, and then, of course, the college football playoff that they will undoubtedly be in. I'm being facetious.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Cal Bears.
The Mountain West Conference Championship game is on Friday, December 5th. So it's 1 full week after the New Mexico game. Why it's on a Friday, talk to the conference people. So if SDFC wins tonight, their next game would be against Vancouver. It would be at Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday, I believe you said. So that would be the
Correct.
29th.
Yes, that is the tentative MLS schedule. The Western Conference Final will be Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium at 6:00.
And that would not interfere with San Diego State whatsoever, because they're in New Mexico the day before. I'm assuming the complication comes with SDSU would probably host a Mountain West Conference Championship game. I know that's still very much a probably for whatever reason. On the 5th, and the next stage of MLS playoff games, that would likely be an SDFC, if they're still alive, game at home, maybe?
That would be MLS Cup. MLS Cup is scheduled for December 6th. It's probably going to be in Miami.
Okay, so the Western Conference Final would be the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And then
quick turnaround for SDFC. Quick turnaround for either side, honestly.
Okay, so there is no conflict here anymore between SDSU and SDFC, I don't think, right?
Only if SDFC hosts MLS Cup.
Is that still possible? Who's still
It is
alive
possible.
in the East?
SDFC beats Minnesota. SDFC beats Vancouver, and NYCFC beats Miami. Which
So they're still
that's
alive.
it's still alive. It's still possible.
Okay.
It's not a guarantee, as you said,
Just
that
not very likely.
SDSU is going to host the Mountain West Conference title game, but there is still the possibility that we could have an event on December 5th and an event on December 6th. But it still feels like, that's not probable. It is possible though. It is
Okay.
possible.
All right. That's the clarification I needed. That makes sense, and that it is possible, but not likely.
Correct.
Yeah,
One game at a time, John. One game at a time.
One day
Conference
at a time this
semifinal
week.
tonight against Minnesota United. 7 p.m.
And if they win, they get to take on Vancouver, which
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, there are 3 teams in MLS, towards the back half of this year, and 3 teams that all made the playoffs that scare the crap out of me as far as matchups for SDFC. And one of them is now off the board, and that's LAFC. Another one is Minnesota United, because their style of play, that I think it's an old GIF where Andre the Giant is in a wrestling ring, and it just cuts to him like putting up his hands, go, whoa, hold on, whoa. That's how I feel every single time Vancouver takes the ball when they play against SDFC, which is like they almost lull you to sleep in thinking that, like, they don't want this ball. They don't want this ball. They're just there. They want to sit back and they want to play deep. Wait a minute, where are they going? No, hold on, no. And then they're gone and they're off to the races. And so they scare the crap out of me. And then Miami, just Messi seems like he's on one.
Yeah,
and so
he's. I mean, his form over the last 5 or 6 games is ridiculous.
He's stupid right now. It's actually really fun to watch. But those are the 3 teams that terrify me, and I'm pretty excited at the possibility of beating Minnesota and not having to face Sunny and LAFC. That still felt like a hell of a comeback. They still feel like a terrifying team going forward, but at least they're out of the playoffs, and SDFC doesn't have to play them again until next season.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the individual level from Denny Bouanga and Son had me thinking, man, can you beat that team again? Can you beat it again? And who knows, right? It was interesting. You and I were watching that around Sean Kelly's kitchen table. And, I had a chance to go back and watch some of it. Vancouver's going to come limping in if, in fact, that is the matchup. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. I did think it was interesting at the end of the game. Steve Cherundolo, who's the outgoing head coach at LAFC, said, we did not lose this game. Or we lost this game. Vancouver did not win it. A little bit of sour grapes there. But they ended up playing a man up and then a second man up. It was 11-on-9 in the extra time, and they couldn't score. So what do you want to say? I thought it was some pretty sour grapes there from Steve Cherundolo, who I like, who's a local guy. He's a San Diego guy. He's a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer. But on his way out, since he's moving back to Germany, he did say, we lost. Vancouver, he said specifically, I watched it last night. It's on Apple TV. He said, Vancouver did not win. Like, well, okay, fine. But, they're advancing into the conference semifinal. But tonight it's Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be playing. They don't have much injury going on there. Joseph Rosales got sent off in the 3rd game against Seattle Sounders. So that's it. That's the only player that Minnesota United is going to be without, according to their media relations director, who I was messaging with this morning. For SDFC, Aiden Harangi, Willie Kumado, Oscar Verhoeven, CJ Dos Santos, obviously. And one added to the list is Franco Negri. So they're going to be a little bit thin at the fullback position at Snapdragon Stadium. I said the crowd is going to matter. Here's why. The crowd, think about it, 2 home games, 2 home playoff games for SDFC. What happened in those games? Well, SDFC won them both against Portland. Also, a player got sent off in each game. A Portland player got sent off in game 1, and a Portland player got sent off in game 2. So I do think that the crowd has the ability here to play a role in the game tonight. Minnesota United, they are survivalists. I don't really... I mean, everybody knows what it is that they do. They just want to slow it down. They don't care about possession. Statistically, you can run them off the field statistically, but somehow the scoreboard tells you a different story. Going back to the game that was played here on September 13th, SDSU is outshooting Minnesota 22-2 in the second half of that game. On Minnesota's third shot of the game, they scored. And then their fourth shot, which was, the next shot, they scored again. And all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, 74th to 77th minute, they were up 2-0. You're like, what happened here? What the fuck? Like, how did that happen? We were killing these guys. Outshot them 12-1 in the first half. I mean, it was crazy what was going on. And Dane St. Clair, he was the best player for Minnesota United. Their goalkeeper was their best player in that game. I went back, I watched some of the series against Seattle. The first game was a scoreless draw. Minnesota wins in penalty kicks. The second game, Minnesota goes on the road. They play at Seattle. They lose 4-2. The third game, they're down 2-1, but they're at home. They're down a man. They have a man sent off, and they figured out a way to score a couple of goals. Then they gave one up late. It's 3-3. It goes to penalty kicks, and they advance. They advanced, John, without actually winning a game. I mean, they advanced without even winning a game in the best of three series against Seattle Sounders. Fair play. Those are the rules. Those are the rules. You don't have to like it, but that's what happened. I would expect, in terms of what SDFC is going to look like, we know the story last week was Chucky Lozano and Anders Dreyer. Were they going to be fit? I don't sense that there's any issue with either one of those players, that they both are going to be available to play. I would tell you it's my opinion that we're going to see the same starting 11 for the most part for SDFC. I think it's still going to be Pellegrino, Baird, and Dreyer up top. My question is about Godoy. Has Godoy fully recovered from playing for the Panamanian national team, qualifying for the World Cup? He's had enough time. I saw him on Friday. He looked great. Had a chance to chat with him, congratulate him on going to the World Cup. Yepe's going to be in the middle. He's played every minute of the postseason so far. Only he and Chris McVeigh have done that. I would imagine Oni Valakari is going to be back in the midfield on the left side. Luca De La Torre seems to be a player who didn't even play in the last game. That's interesting. Did not realize that. Didn't even play in the last game. I don't know how many times that's happened for Luca De La Torre, that he's been in the squad and didn't play a minute of the game. But I would imagine that's going to be the midfield, and the back line's going to be Bombino, Dua, McVeigh, and Ian Pilcher again, and Pablo Cisniega in goal. That's the most likely preferred starting 11 for me for tonight at 7:00.
Sounds good to me. Did Luca De La Torre play for Mauricio Pochettino and the U.S. men's national team during the break? Wow, so he should be very well rested. And my thought with Luca De La Torre is that he's not always as aggressive as I would like him to be. And a lot of times that's tied to, I don't want to say fitness. It's just like sometimes he seems worn out when he has to play a lot. When he came back from that, I think the first break or second break where he went to the U.S. men's national team and played, was a starter for them for a couple of games, he came back dragging for a little bit. So he might be a fun guy off the bench for them in this game. A couple things to point out. One, if Amal Pellegrino scores in this game again, I'm going to have to be the annoying guy who points out the fact that Philadelphia Union lost to NYC FC and scored 0 goals. So maybe Milan Alaski is not the second coming of Lionel Messi or whoever else San Diegans thought he might have been when they were mad that San Diego let him walk. Secondly, just because it's here, the LAFC saying, we lost this game, they didn't win it. Did you look at the XG for that game? The expected goals for that game? It's pretty brutal.
In favor of LAFC?
LAFC's expected goals was 3.14, and Vancouver's was 1.28. LAFC's XG was 2 goals higher, and they drew, and then they lost in penalties. It is pretty amazing that their big signing, I think the most popular jersey in MLS, maybe second to Lionel Messi, when Sonny came over, scores 2 goals, gets them back in it, knots it up, and then can't make the kick and penalties at the end of the game, which is just unbelievable, unreal. And it is funny how much of the MLS Cup playoffs, maybe this happens a lot, I don't know. First time watcher of the MLS Cup playoffs. It's amazing how much of this is coming down to penalty kicks. That's the thing that scares me, is that I think Minnesota is coming into this not necessarily thinking we can stop their offense and sneak in a goal or two. They're just kind of yeah, we think we can stop their offense, and then we got a better chance in penalties because, they got their backup keeper and we got the best keeper in MLS. That's the only thing that scares me. But can you really go into a game planning to not give up a goal for 120 minutes? Probably not.
120 is the key phrase there because
Right.
this is not straight to penalty kicks. You do play 2 15-minute extra time sessions if it is level at the end of the 90 plus. So can they do that? Is that a strategy? Good luck to them. I would tell you this. If you're going to let SDFC get 12 more shots on target tonight, I would sign up for that right now. I will sign up for that. If that's the way the game unfolds, the same way it unfolded on September 13th, I would sign up for that. And if you can't get one past Dane St. Clair, who, oh, by the way, MLS goalkeeper of the year, who's allowed 7 goals in his last 2 games. 7.
Whoa.
Yeah. 4 against Seattle in Seattle and 3 at home in the deciding game. They won both those games in penalty kicks. He has allowed 7 goals over the last couple of weeks, last couple of games, I should say. Now, what does the break do to any of these guys? I don't know. Because it looked like Minnesota was such an emotional game for them. Had a player sent off, as I mentioned, win it in a 7-6 PK shootout. You know, maybe they needed a little bit of a break. Get some guys. They don't have any injuries. They'll probably get Kelvin Yeboah. He's back. He's 100%. I mean, he's a designated player who scored 9 times this year. So, you know, it feels like they're a little bit down on him. He hasn't scored in 12 matches. He's probably going to be at the tip of the spear for them in their 5-4-1 setup, 5 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 1 player up top. Probably going to be up top, might be my guess, but, you know, he hasn't scored in 12 matches, so don't want to jinx that. But, yeah, 7 goals is a lot, John, and you know, he's been got early. Dane St. Clair has been got early. Again, I have all these notes around here somewhere that I will figure out by the time the pregame show starts at 6:30 tonight. But, you know, they got him early. You know, they got him like 4 times within the first 10 minutes of these games. So, you know, a little bit of the, you know, a little bit of the bloom is off the rose, so to speak, for Dane St. Clair. I mean, he's been got over the last couple of games. It's the Seattle couldn't kill the game. They couldn't see the game out. Everybody knows what Minnesota wants to do. Set pieces, counterattacks. All 3 of their goals against Seattle in game 3, first round, came on set pieces, which just is crazy because, like, we know what they're doing and they still figure out a way to do it. You know exactly what it is. It's going to be a throw and it's going to be a corner kick. It's going to be a free kick. And they scored all 3 ways against Seattle to force that into a penalty kick. So interesting. Minnesota's history was last year they got out of the first round, advancing against Real Salt Lake by winning in the first round. They had 2 penalty kick wins. That's how they advanced out of the first round of the best of 3 last year. And then they got absolutely stomped, battered by LA Galaxy 6-2 in the conference semifinal. Might history repeat itself? I don't know. Sometimes these games get away. You see these ridiculous score lines, 5-0, 6-2s, things like that, because games kind of get away from teams late.
Yeah.
Getting an opener is going to be massive. Just getting an opener, not wanting to play behind. If they get an opener, it's going to be really tense in the building. So again, if you can figure out a way to get the opener, get the game a little bit more open, huge advantage, I think, for SDFC. But again, you know, these styles, no secrets here. Eric Ramsey's the youngest coach in MLS. He's a good young coach, but he's got a style that Mikey Varas probably wants to vomit when he's watching. And Eric Ramsey probably watches SDFC play and goes, man, I wish I could coach like that. So, you know, I don't know that anybody wants to coach this style, but it is their style and it has been successful. And it's hard to argue against it, even if deep down I probably feel some moral objection to coaching this brand of style. I remember when we were with SD Loyal, Landon Donovan used to complain about this all the time. Be like, oh, only one team was trying to play soccer tonight. Like, yeah, okay, Landon, I get it. Like, you know, they played a low block. They didn't want to let you score. Sorry, they didn't want to just say run circles around us. The other coach had an approach, you know. I find myself, again, morally, as a fan of the sport, I'm against this style that Minnesota United plays, but fair play. I mean, who am I? You know, who am I to say that you shouldn't structure a team or coach a team this way? Who am I? But I definitely prefer the SDFC style. I want to watch beautiful, free-flowing soccer. Other people want to watch you, you know, get into some sort of rock fight here and try to win the game 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever. So
I have a bunch of thoughts that are kind of all over the place. One of them is Keith Costigan, who we had on last week. I mean, he said it plain as day, as did you. The first goal is not going to be everything in this game, but it's going to be a lot. Whoever scores first is going to have a huge advantage. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. Jeff Ruder said last week, and I've been reading more about how Minnesota just pushes on the set pieces. Like this is their thing. They don't need an offense. They just need a defense and scoring off set pieces, and they're fine. And Jeff Ruder essentially said, like, when you're playing against them, you have to get creative about disrupting their set pieces. You can't play their set pieces the same way you do everybody else. He mentioned, like, get a tall guy to stand in front of the guy who's throwing the ball in or kicking the
Michael
ball in.
Boxall.
Yeah, and just make it so that his throw has to go a little higher or his kick has to go a little bit higher. Just throw off the angles a little bit. I wonder, if you've talked with Mikey about this at all, or if Mikey has talked about this at all, if this is a thing that they've practiced that you've seen. I'm curious about all of that, and it's definitely something I'm going to be paying attention to every time they get into a set piece. It's like, is there someone over there trying to disrupt the actual like inbounding of the ball?
The focus, I did ask Mikey about the set pieces on Friday, and what he told me was, and I'll use this on the broadcast, so it's not like I'm betraying any trust here. The goal on the set piece isn't so much about the first touch, right? All right, so we have Michael Boxall. He's going to throw the ball into the 18, into the 6-yard area. He's going to throw it in there. This is what he does. I don't think they're going to try to disrupt it, but his point was we need to focus on the second touch. So somebody's going to get to that ball, and then the ball is going to go someplace else. That's when we can't fall asleep. We need to focus on the second touch off the set piece. We need to focus on the, first header. Where's it going? Is it flicking to another player at the back post? We need to be more aware of how we defend and what our responsibilities are on the set pieces. Not so much just getting to the first one, but making sure that we're aware of where the second one was going. He said that is where Minnesota kills you, is that Minnesota is really, really adept at anticipating where the first touch is going to lead to the second touch. And if you can disrupt that, then you have a much better chance of diffusing some of their potency when it comes to how they go about set pieces. So he was saying that was really now again, I'm sure Seattle's Brian Schmetzer, he's a really good coach. He probably said a lot of the same stuff, and yet it's still a hard thing to do. One of their set pieces was a free kick. It was a great shot from Joaquin Pereira. Not much you could have done on that one. Don't know many goalkeepers that were going to save that. But, the corner kick, that's how they scored the first game here. Anthony Marcanic was by himself on the back post, headed it in. Something similar happened in game 3 against Seattle. Those are the kind of play, like that's where it is such a focused game. It is such a mentally focused game because you're focusing on what it is that you want to do and how it is that you want to exploit them, but you also have to be focused on what it is that they want to do. And again, it's not going to be a ton of opportunities for Minnesota. So, you just have to be focused when they do get these moments. You just have to be focused on what the assignment is in any given spot. I don't think they're going to be throwing bodies at Michael Boxall trying to throw the ball in. They figure he's so tall, he's just going to throw over anybody anyway. So I don't know that they're going to do all that much there. I think that they think that that's not, something that's worth investing a bunch of time in. Focus on where we're supposed to be inside of the 18 and off that first touch. How are you going to get to the ball? Because we can't just let it bounce on the ground and give them an opportunity to score a goal, because that's how you change the games here. So anyhow, that's it's going to be a great night.
It's going to be a great night. Yeah. I think we should maybe throw to the Corey Baird interview, which I've not yet heard, so you can set this up, and then afterwards, let's talk about SDSU football and maybe a little Formula One.
Corey Baird, who I must admit I did not realize when he came over here. You hear, okay, from San Diego, back to back national champion at Stanford University, 3 national championships when he was at Stanford.
Wow,
did not know that. Probably, I heard he won a college championship. You're like, oh, that's cool. But here's a guy who's the most experienced MLS postseason player in terms of games and starts. Going in now, as you'll hear during the interview, this will be presumably, if he's the starter, this will be his 14th game and potentially his 12th start. I do not know the starting 11. I'm just guessing. But presumably his 14th game, he will be involved in some capacity tonight, barring something completely unforeseen. But this is a little bit of a longer one, like I said, than the one that we had on 760. We cut these things down for time purposes, but 3 times the national champ. Went to the postseason with Real Salt Lake, where he was drafted out of college, where he was the newcomer of the year in 2018. Played a little bit in Houston, won a U.S. Open Cup in Houston. Played for FC Cincinnati, got traded here to San Diego. Now he's in his hometown, and we just started goofing off about a little karaoke to start.
Hold on. I want to see what this sounds like because I maybe want to play it for the Aztecs. All right, fine. That'll work.
All right. Real quick wrap on SDFC, and then we'll turn our attention, right?
Yeah.
All right. Ready? All right, John. Prediction time here. I think SDFC is going to win. I mean, I truly do believe that. I think they are the better team. Minnesota's been good away from home. They've been one of the better teams in Major League Soccer away. Their last road win, oddly enough, came at Snapdragon Stadium back on September 13th. But I just, unless these guys have completely cooled off during the international break, I think, the better team doesn't always win, but I think the better team wins tonight. And I think the game gets a little bit away from Minnesota late. So I'm going to go 3-1 in favor of the Chrome and Azul.
I hate you. I was also going to go 3-1, and now it feels like I'm copying. I'll go into more detail as to why I think it's 3-1. Without actually being their doctor or having seen them with my own eyes in weeks, I think Anders Dreyer gets a goal. I think Amal Pellegrino gets a goal in the first half, and I think Chucky Lozano comes on like a house on fire late in the game and hits the third one that just makes it kind of a laugher. And I just don't think Minnesota has enough to score 3 goals. Like, I think you could literally outscore them in a way that they just can't keep up or catch up. So, yeah, I think it's 3-1 as well.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll do a post game tonight. I will probably be doing it from Snapdragon Stadium. Like I said, I have to be up at 4 a.m. anyway. So what's the point of even trying to sleep? So John and I will have something for you. If not later tonight, certainly available for you tomorrow on Tuesday by the time you wake up. John, again, SDSU wins. They close out their home schedule, beating San Jose State University 25-3 was the final score here. Again, it's a game. You can look at the box score if you want. I mean, they held them to 3 points.
Wouldn't recommend
it. And now SDSU will play on the road at New Mexico. Surprisingly good New Mexico team. I will tell you, I spent a minute or two looking at New Mexico because I was like, what is the story with New Mexico? Why is this team suddenly good? I don't remember New Mexico being good for quite a while. They are 8-3. They are 5-2 in the Mountain West Conference. And this is a huge game. New Mexico still, I don't know what all the tiebreakers are. SDSU 6-1, Boise State 5-2, New Mexico 5-2, UNLV 5-2. There's a really, really long post on the Discord channel about some of the tiebreakers here. It makes my head hurt. But New Mexico hasn't been good since 2016. New Mexico has a coach. He's a first-year coach. His name is Jason Eck, E-C-K, Eck, I don't know. Jason Eck, who came over from Idaho. This is his first year. I don't know. Maybe the winner of this game gets the Cal job. I don't know. But, I mean, they have not been good in a really, really long time. Like New Mexico, you're sort of like, yeah, that's what a shit program. That thing's dead. Maybe they should think about giving up football there. But, now they are back. They are 8-3, and they haven't been over 500 since 2016. So, as much as we've said, wow, what a great story. And it is a great story that Sean Lewis has turned this around from 3-9 to a team that is a win away from hosting the Mountain West Conference title game. Good players, and they're winning in a way that we maybe hadn't had predicted with Sean Lewis. But, man, this is a good story, too, inside of this conference. And this is going to be one of the teams that's getting left behind in New Mexico because they are not going to the Pac-12 next year, John. As you know, they are being left behind to fight for the integrity of the Mountain West Conference for whatever that's worth. And I don't know anything about Jason Eck. I just spent a minute looking at it. 3 years at Idaho, did some good things there. Bernie Wilson's alma mater, Bernie Wilson from the Associated Press. So credit to them, though. They're over 500, and they're going to a bowl game for the first time in a long time. And this isn't one of those you look at the schedule like, yeah, okay, check, that's going to be a win. Now it feels like it's going to be a difficult game for San Diego State playing at New Mexico. But credit to them, again, defensively, Saturday night in their building. finish undefeated at home. A couple of highlight plays. So, SDSU is doing what SDSU has done all season long, figuring out ways to win the game and make it look rather easy.
Yeah, and rather boring, which we'll get to. But yeah, New Mexico's lost 3 games this year. Did you look up who they lost to?
I did.
They lost to Boise State before their starting quarterback got hurt, so they didn't get the luck that the Aztecs got. They lost to Michigan, and then they lost to San Jose State, who the Aztecs just pummeled. But again, maybe different circumstances, because San Diego State went into this game against a pretty bad San Jose State team that, could get frisky every now and then, and almost immediately injured the San Jose State starting quarterback's knee. He went out. They tried one freshman quarterback who had never played before. He got swallowed up by the defense. They tried another freshman quarterback who had never played before. He mostly got swallowed up by the defense, but was like a little bit better than the other guy. And then the Aztecs just ran the ball. They ran the ball, and then they ran the ball, and then they ran the ball. Lucky Sutton ran 20 times for 79 yards and a touchdown. Christian Washington ran 10 times for 70 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Denegal, once again, ran for a touchdown. But his stat line kills me. I have to say it. It's just too funny to me. He finished 8 for 16 for 81 passing yards. Like, that's the type of stat line you'd see in like the 1970s. Like, it's so bad. And he threw a 52-yard pass that was caught. It wasn't a particularly good pass. He threw it into double, if not triple coverage, and the wide receiver had to stop and come back to catch it. But he threw a 52-yard pass and still finished completing 8 passes for 81 yards. Which, what's that mean? That means he threw 7 passes for like 20-something yards. It's not a functional passing offense. It's just not. And to their credit, the top probably 2 best receivers on the team this season are both out with season-ending injuries.
Mhm.
That's pretty hard when you have the kind of pass-catching depth that the Aztecs started with. So it's not all on Jaden Denegal. And I do appreciate that he's turned himself into a little bit of a running threat, even though he wasn't to start the season, and kind of was like, no, I want to be like a pocket passer. I'm an NFL-style quarterback. He has adjusted to use his legs more often. That's helpful. But yeah, once again, it's like you look at this, you're like, okay, well, they beat San Jose, and San Jose is, not terrible. It's like, well, yeah, but they spent most of the game beating up on quarterbacks who had never seen the field before. So it's like, they did that. They knocked out the starting quarterback. Like, I think you get credit for that, but
I think so.
I
mean, San Jose's terrible.
Yeah, they're
3-8.
They're 3-8 now. But yeah, this New Mexico team is interesting. What did I say? I said New Mexico represents a real test, I think, when I was looking ahead to their game against San Diego State. But if nothing else, like you said, there's a cluster of teams in the Mountain West that are kind of fighting to get into the championship game, and the Aztecs don't have to be one of them. Just win this game, and you're in, and you're hosting, and you're fine.
Pretty simple. Yeah,
because no one can catch you. Which
I haven't watched. New Mexico. I haven't watched the game probably since Brian Urlacher was there.
I appreciate teams that have it's not totally unique, but rare mascots. And like Lobos is a good one. I like Lobos. I'm going to root for Lobos. I root for Aztecs because it's like there's no other Aztecs out there. I hate when you're playing against like the Wildcats or the Spartans and there's just 1,000 of them. But
Bulldogs,
can't stand it. But we spent, last week we got into a whole thing about it, but we've spent a lot of time kind of not talking down our nose at the San Diego State football program, but just kind of going like, yeah, their record is great, but like I don't know if they're good. They're a team without a functional passing offense. But you know what they did, Darren? They went undefeated at home this season. We walked into this year going, Sean Lewis gonna make it through the season? What were they last year? 3-9, and mostly pathetic all year long. Now they're 9-3, 9-2. And they went undefeated at home at Snapdragon Stadium while facing all sorts of, news and controversy about like, why can't they get more people in the stands and whatever? And they just ignored all of that, ignored getting pummeled by the rain the other week, and they just kept winning games at home. So I found this sound effect. I'm going to play the sound effect for anyone who thinks that I am just here to bash the Aztecs football program, I will applaud Sean Lewis and the San Diego State football Aztecs for essentially punching their ticket already to the conference championship game and for having a great record. I still think if they played I don't know, a halfway decent college football team, it would get out of hand pretty quickly, but we'll probably find that out with whatever bowl game they end up going to.
I know. I think that's, one of the tricks, one of the tricky things about trying to compare them statistically. It's like, oh, they've allowed 85 or whatever it is. They've only allowed 120 points, I think, top of my head, all season long. And if you were to put that up on a per game average, how does this rank? Well, they're right up there with Ohio State. You're like, no. Like, no, they're tied for second. Here it is. Points against 11.6. Tied for second in all of college football. You're like, yeah, I don't know about that. That one, I think we need a little bit of context here. I get, give him credit. Like Sean Lewis has proven that he can win in a way where he doesn't have to, score a bunch of times and have 500 yards of offense every single game. I do think that there's value in that and being a coach, but like sometimes you put these comparisons up and you're like, Ohio State, San Diego State, Georgia. You're like, I don't know. One of these things is definitely not like the other.
Yeah, speaking of the University of Idaho coaching tree, here's a name we have not said all year long. And I feel terrible for this. We should be mentioning this person's name because, yeah, Sean Lewis is going to get interviews probably if he wants them for a head coaching job at a bigger or at least louder, more well-financed football program that maybe doesn't have all the stadium issues that San Diego State does. But the defensive coordinator for the San Diego State Aztecs, could you name him?
I cannot.
Rob, Aurich. Aurich?
So you can't name him either. Aurich?
Aurich.
I thought you were going to drop Chip Kelly on us.
No, we don't need to talk about that, man. Despite the fact that he lost his job as the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL after 11 games. Good Lord, what a fall from grace for that guy. But no, like, do you think that a team like, I was going to say New Mexico. Let's say New Mexico State. I think that's a football program. You think a team like that's not going to call up Rob Ulrich and be like, hey, we want to hire you to be our head coach and bring that nasty San Diego State defense over here. And now Sean Lewis is going to have to do it without him or not if he's gone somewhere. But that's someone whose name deserves to be said, as well as Chris Johnson, who I saw John Schaefer tweet something out yesterday that was kind of in line with what I was thinking, which is like this Chris Johnson kid might be like a first or second round pick. Like he might be a future Pro Bowler. He's that good of a cornerback, probably leader of the defense. And maybe this is the thing I can throw out there and then we can get off it. I never got a good explanation as to why Chris Johnson didn't play in the Hawaii game. Like, as far as I know, he was expected to play in the Hawaii game, and then he didn't play in the Hawaii game. And when San Diego State was asked about it, they said he had an unspecified injury that kept him from playing. And then next week he just played like nothing happened. So I'm curious about that because I do feel like he was kind of the difference between them winning or losing that game against Hawaii. Like they just kept attacking downfield right to where he normally would have been playing and probably turning those into interceptions or disrupting them in some way. But overall, one of the better college football seasons from San Diego State that they have had in, 10, 15, 20 years, right? And like considering where we started.
Well, let's not forget they've won some conference championships around here before with Rocky Long. I don't know why we're so quick to just forget. Like they were setting NCAA records for rushing and playing really good defense.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah,
it's been 10 years. I'm just saying, like since then, we're and that's kind of what I said.
Is this the best in the post Rocky Long era? Yeah, I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. And it's funny because it looks like it's Rocky Long's team, like without him being here. But yeah, they're they do deserve credit for where they started, what the expectations were, and what they've been able to accomplish so far and continuing.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Many of you are too young to remember this, but one of my favorite teams ever to watch was the 1994 New York Knicks. And they would regularly win playoff games 83-74. And everybody like, this is terrible for basketball. This is setting the game back. I'd be like, yep, love it. Love everything about it. Give me more of this. Give me more of this.
I want more.
fouls,
I want more Anthony Mason dribbling and passing.
Mason having players in chokeholds and Charles Oakley and John Starks and like I loved it. I was like, to hell with everybody else. I don't give a shit. We're winning 79-71 in the playoffs. Like, what do I care? And if you're a San Diego State fan, just be unapologetic about it. Be like, our team is 9-2. Isn't exactly the way we thought we'd get to 9-2, if we're being honest. So, whatever. Maybe there's brighter days ahead where it's not only going to produce results, but it is also going to be beautiful. Minnesota, I just got done telling you. I mean, I can't stand. I watched enough Minnesota this weekend. I'm done with that. I just don't want to watch them anymore. I will not watch any more Minnesota United after today. I can promise you that. I'm not interested in them. I don't like the way they play, but you know who does? Minnesota United fans. And here they are. So, Eric Ramsey, their head coach, doesn't have to apologize for anything. He can go out there tonight and, they can have 31% possession, take 4 shots. And if they win and they advance to play Vancouver, I'll complain, but who gives a shit? So, if I were a San Diego State fan, I would adopt exactly that mentality. You did it for years with basketball where you would win these games, 57-48 against Wyoming. So, you don't get anything for losing an exciting, high-scoring game to Troy. You don't really get anything for that, So, again, you are what you are, and just embrace it because it's likely to change. Not because I think the coach is going somewhere necessarily. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of turnover in college coaching now. There's so much turnover in coaching. It's almost hard, John, to see how the dominoes. You better get that guy's name on an extension real quick here, real quick. So that way, if somebody does come a call in here, at least you have yourself financially supported with Sean Lewis, but I don't know how those things work. But again, they will. I just think we've missed a little bit of this New Mexico story. Again, I don't know, nobody cares. But it's like, wow, okay, New Mexico. That's a program that I really kind of have given up on. I thought it was done. I don't really know what they were doing over there. But that's for Friday. Basketball plays tonight against Michigan. So it's a great way to bounce back. You can get over the sting of losing to Troy at home in that high-scoring, ridiculous triple overtime game with a win against the number 7 team in the polls. Just got a text, speaking of, I hope he doesn't mind, from John Schaefer, who's in Vegas, who tells me that there's lots of St. John's fans out there for this Vegas tournament.
The Johnnies, they travel.
Lots of SJU. I know. I should have been at this one. I really shouldn't be going to Tennessee. I got to be honest.
Well, sometimes you gotta do the thing that is personally beneficial instead of professionally beneficial.
That's why I rewarded myself with that first class upgrade for $140.
There you go. Yeah. You can enjoy that champagne they're pouring for you at 6:30 in the morning.
6 in the morning. I just want to sleep. I just don't want anybody bothering me at 6 a.m.
But wait, okay. I've never taken a first class flight. Never. And I know our buddy H.J. Preller gets mad at me every time I say this, but I've never taken a first class flight. If I were to take a first class flight, I think it would have to be bare minimum like a 4-hour flight. You have what, 2.5?
240. 240 to Denver, yeah.
And then what, like another 2 after that?
Another 2.5, yeah.
But you don't have first class seat on both of those, do you?
I did not. I did upgrade to for $20 on the second flight. Because I had a middle seat. I'm definitely not doing that. Sorry.
Yeah. You're now it's gonna feel like going back to the back of the plane. You're gonna have a crying baby next to you.
100%.
Like, oh, what?
Yeah. Oh, first class is a curse.
Yeah,
it is a curse because you sit up there once, and for the rest of your life, when you're in the back, you're
just thinking about it.
This blows. This is like a terrible way to fly. Once you've had a taste of that life, John,
you don't want to see how the other half lives.
Once you've had the champagne and the caviar lifestyle, it is tough to go back to ground beef and canned beer. It is just it's a difficult transition. But I just said to myself, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. It's the holidays. There's going to be a lot of morons flying, and I'd like to keep myself as far away from those people as possible. I want to get on the plane early. I don't want to be boarding with a bunch of knuckleheads. So.
Yeah. Hey, before we wrap up here, I don't know how much you want to talk about F1. Here's what I'm doing as soon as we finish this podcast, or I guess as soon as I publish this podcast. I'm going down the street to my local Dick's Sporting Goods because I have been tipped off by a Section 1904 subscriber that they have a lot of really good San Diego FC gear at my local Dick's Sporting Good, and I'm getting tired of not having any. As a matter of fact, I've seen some dads wearing it at my daughter's school for pickup, and I'm getting really annoyed that they have it and I don't. So I'm gonna go buy some. But while I'm there shopping for SDFC gear, because if they win tonight, I need to be, for a post game show, I need to be all covered in my SDFC gear. I might buy an SDSU something, a shirt, a scarf, a hat, a something. Despite the fact that I don't love their colors, and I don't love their logo. That's a whole other thing. That's personal preference. But if they beat Michigan and then tomorrow on TNT, they beat Oregon, and then I'm gonna be real excited. And then a couple weeks from now, they play Arizona, who's already thought to be one of the best teams in the country. Like, there is a path here for them to go from kind of like, are we sure about the Aztecs, to like, whoa, here come the Aztecs in like a couple of weeks. And I think I need to prepare myself for that.
Couple of
possibility.
days.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and they've been big game hunters in their past too. So they're not afraid to A, schedule these kind of teams, and B, be unafraid when it is, let's be honest. Troy came out to the West Coast here, taking on SDSU and Troy, or USC, Troy. They came out here to take a couple paychecks because it would help their program. Whereas SDSU has put themselves in the category of, no, we need to beef up our out-of-conference schedule because we don't know exactly what our conference schedule is going to do. It's probably going to hurt us. It's probably not going to help us. But they are unafraid to go big game hunting here. So I've always appreciated that. It's personality. It is part of their mentality that you come to San Diego State, you're going to be playing in big games. And I think that's a great thing that they've built around this program. So they've got a tremendous opportunity here over the next couple of days. Just being invited to this tournament, I think, is a big deal. It's hard exactly to know what the future of this tournament is. It's one of these college tournaments now. I read this morning the Big 12 is buying equity into it. So
yeah, it's weird.
A lot of things happening. They want to make it a best of 32 field, which is like interesting. But it's a good way to say, okay, I don't need to pay attention to college basketball until January to February, till we get ready for some of the conference tournaments. It's a nice way during the season to say, hey, listen, this is something that we'll have some stakes, especially in the era of NIL, where you get some money, where you can put it back into your program, which will help you in recruiting, which will literally help you pay for players. I mean, it's literally going to help you pay for players.
Yeah.
Even though it still sounds awkward coming out of my mouth after all these years, that you need the money from this tournament so that you can pay your players.
Right? I mean, it was always true. Now we can just
used to say that
it.
Under the table, be like, gonna put a bag of cash under this guy's desk.
Right.
But now it's like, yeah, we need the money. We got to go pay for somebody. Magoon Gawat, these guys aren't cheap. So you got to pay for these dudes somehow for the next guy that's going to come walking through the door. So
speaking of,
I think it's cool.
I do love the fact that Dutch never shies away from being like, yeah, I would like to beat Michigan. Like, that one's special to me. And I love the fact that he doesn't go like, just another game on the schedule. She's like, nope, that one's special. If I can beat them, that makes me feel better. I think I included this in Front Row Seat this morning. There was a quote. Someone asked Dutch like what he thought about the Michigan team, and he was like, they got a lot of money to pay a lot of players. You look at their roster, that's a lot of good players making a lot of cash. I was like, yeah, it's, one of those kind of eyeing first class from the coach seats a little bit right there.
Dusty May is their head coach. I don't know that I would have remembered
the pitcher
that
for the Dodgers.
Not Dustin, Dusty.
That could be a nickname.
Got a quick thought on Luis Camposano being tendered by the Padres?
I mean, they give him like $1 million. I
think he took a pay cut to like 900.
It's fine. It's fine.
What is he going to do here?
A bench bat, DH bat, emergency catcher if someone gets hurt. I don't know. It's so weird because it seems like the team is never going to be comfortable letting him be a catcher, but he's not a strong enough power hitter for him to just be like a DH. He's kind of stuck in between. He also might be a quadruple A guy who like just crushes it in triple A, double A, but he gets to the major league level and it's too much for him. But I'd rather have him than nothing as the backup catcher. But that's me, a person who wouldn't mind if he caught once or twice a week, and I think I'd be fine with it. So I don't know. I kind of expected it just because they have so many other holes to fill. I wouldn't be surprised if they went and they talked to Elias Diaz and said like, hey, would you take like $700,000, $800,000 to be our catcher, our backup catcher next year? And he was like, no. And I'm like, all right, fine. Can't be Will. We'll do that because we need the money to buy pitchers, to buy a first baseman, to maybe replace Jose Iglesias as a bench guy off the bat who can also fill in as a starter for a week here and there. You can't be spending money on your backup catcher.
Yeah, backup catchers to me always should have a little bit of thump.
I would love thump from a backup catcher. Jorge Alfaro was like my ideal backup catcher.
Yeah, I mean, your starter should always be that technical guy, connecting with the pitchers, and the backup guy should just come off every once in a while and just pop a couple homers.
Yeah. Also, it also helps if your backup catcher is like a really good clubhouse guy, which is like where Campy's really going to fall short there. Yeah, like again, a guy like Alfaro, the Rod Barajas type of guy, where it's like he's a great clubhouse guy. He might smash a home run if he gets in. Like this is what Diaz was after they traded for Fermin last year, right? Like every time he would get a start, he'd hit a home run. It was like that's great, and he's a good enough defensive catcher, and you don't mind him coming off the bench if you need to. So yeah, he's not an ideal backup catcher, but he's a cheap backup catcher, I think.
Hey, the Rangers seem to be shedding some money here. I mean, I wonder if there's a trade to be made. I would be lying if I said I remembered or knew the numbers. Oh God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? The guy that was the starting catcher here a couple of years ago.
Oh, Higashioka?
Yeah. What's his deal? They want to get rid of him?
Probably. He was not great last year.
That's fine. Did he catch? I mean, did he catch a bunch of games? Really? I mean, he was not great means what? I mean, 81 and 81. Did the pitchers like throwing to him? Because they really like throwing to him here. He wasn't even the starter last year.
No, Jonah Heim is their starter, and he's
94
only 30.
games, though. That's not nothing.
94 games, 300 plate appearances.
Yeah, I'd sign up for that. I don't know what his salary is, but if you're looking for a change of scenery, perhaps for a couple guys, and they're looking to shed a couple bucks.
Well, okay. So Campusano is making, let's call it like $800,000. Higashioka is making $6.7 million in 2026 when he is 36 years old.
You might as well make that 7.75 because there's a $1 million buyout too.
There you go. And
maybe they'll eat some money on him. Maybe they'll eat half of it.
And he's got a $7 million. I mean, it's a mutual option that no one's going to pick up for 2027 as well.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's the buyout. So you're on the hook for 7.75. Trade him Campusano. Ask him to eat half of it, and you got Kyle Higashioka back for like $3 million.
I would not be surprised if the Rangers are not going full tank, but full, like, we're going to build around Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford and all these young players that they have that are like 23 years old. And we're going to shed some of these guys that we paid to come in and compete right away. I wouldn't be shocked if Higashioka got traded. I wouldn't be shocked if Jock Peterson got traded. I wouldn't be shocked if Corey Seager got traded, although he's a little bit younger than those guys. And kind of like the premier signing they've had in the last decade. I would be very unsurprised to see them move Jacob deGrom or Nathan Eovaldi, both of whom are pitchers that the Padres would love to have. deGrom makes $38 million this year, $37 million next year. Eovaldi makes $29 this year, $24 next year. I don't think the Padres can afford that. We've heard that the payroll is going to be about the same, which means they got about $10 million to spend. I don't know where they're going to find pitchers. I just don't. I mean, this is the going rate for good starting pitchers, like $30 million a year. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm sure that there's calls being made between Chris Young and AJ Preller where they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, again, I literally am spitballing that. That is not. But I mean, it's just never going to really happen here for Campusano.
I agree.
I mean, it's just not. And, people can wish all day and all night and all off season that somehow all of a sudden these catchers are just going to go, oh, wow, we've not been throwing to this guy. They don't want to throw to him. I don't know what there is to say anymore. All right. That's a wrap for the Monday. Again, thank you very much for listening. If you're taking us with you, be safe. If you're traveling, if you're doing any traveling this week, we will have another show tomorrow. We're piecing it together. Again, I will contribute something from Snapdragon Stadium at the end of the game tonight. So somewhere about 10 o'clock, somewhere in that range. It may be released tonight, tomorrow. Not quite clear on it, but we'll work it out. Just pay attention to your inbox. That's how you can, and to your podcast feeds. That's when you'll find out that we put another episode out. I'm sure John will have a write-up at section1904.com. And again, if this is your weekly exposure and you're here every Monday, and we know lots of people are on Mondays, why not consider supporting local media? It's really a very, very good deal. It is I'm not just saying that. It is a really good deal. I have a lot of subscriptions, and not many of them give me 5 days a week at least podcasting and access to newsletters and social media channels and website and write-ups and all those sorts of things. So section1904.com, that is the website.